Here's how it turned out. Tastes good. I'm a little disappointed I can't taste the cherries at all, but overall it tastes fine. Hello, howdy, and welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Catherine, the Aerogarden Homesteader. Today is a bit of a busy day. I'm going to be making a baked oatmeal and a nice roasted red pepper soup. Plus, I think I'm going to do some caramelized onions, which will be a nice topping for the soup. So, I'm going to start with a baked oatmeal. I'm not feeling all that great, so this will ensure I have some nice breakfasts and some nice soup for lunches, just in case I start not feeling well. This is a cherry pie filling that's been in the pantry for too long. So I'm going to blitz it up and I'm going to put it in the baked oatmeal because, you know, chocolate and cherries go really well together. So it tastes fine, it just looks gross. And it's been sitting around for a while. So let's just get it used up. This will replace the applesauce in the recipe and the sugar. So I need 1 cup, which is half of this jar. Give or take. A little extra doesn't hurt. Okay. Need about half a teaspoon of salt. Always add a little salt to your sweet things. It helps enhance the flavor. Need 3 scoops of whey powder. This isn't whey powder. This is what I have. The recipe calls for whey powder. I'm sure it calls for it for a reason, because I think it reacts differently from the casein powder. But this is just a blend of a whole bunch of different things. It's kind of gross, honestly. So, I'm trying to use it up. Got my oven heated to 350. Okay, I need 3 cups of rolled oats. There you go. Give or take. Teaspoon of baking powder. Teaspoon of vanilla. Quarter of a cup of cocoa. And 2 cups of milk. Calls for 2 eggs, but I won't be putting those in here. I also need a little bit of oil, I gotta remember that, and chocolate chips. Okay, didn't quite finish that milk off. Calls for melted butter. I'm not dealing with that right now. I'll just put in a little oil. It's kind of the same thing, just needs a fat. And then, to get the milk in the fridge, I'm going to grab some chocolate chips. Okay. Just need some mini chocolate chips. Small handful, probably like 2 to 3 tablespoons. Really doesn't need that much. And 2 tablespoons of sugar. Because even though that's got some sugar in it, it does have the cocoa. Okay, let's give this a stir. Try to not make a mess. And then I have a greased 9x13. It's going to go in the oven for like 40 to 45 minutes or something. So, the other recipe I made, it was very granola bar-like, which was nice. It was okay. But the first time I made this recipe, it was really custardy. I'm hoping that by skipping the eggs, it will be a little bit better, and then adding the cherries will give it a nice flavor as well. So I like to try the recipe once, the first time as is, and then start modifying it to make it a recipe I will like. And that's just how everyone finds their, oh, this is the best recipe ever. Well, it's the best recipe for them ever, but not for everyone else. Okay, let's get this baking up. I think I have a cold, or I'm coming down with a cold, so this will give me some nice easy mornings. I just need to rest and relax. And I'm going to get a nice soup going for the same reason. So I don't have to think about my lunches if I don't feel good. It's also good for those busy days to just have a big pot of something that you can eat from. Okay, and then if you want to make it pretty, you can add a sprinkle of chocolate chips on top, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, there you go. This just needs to go in the oven. Here's how it turned out. Tastes good. I'm a little disappointed I can't taste the cherries at all, but overall it tastes fine. It does have a less custardy texture than the first time I made this, so I think skipping the eggs was probably a good call on that. Gotta figure out the cherry though. Maybe I should have put some almond extract in instead of vanilla. Oh well. Turned out really good though. I am moving on to the red pepper soup. It's a roasted red pepper. This is it's a recipe I got from a cookbook a long time ago, and like any recipe, when you make it over and over and over again, little changes happen and improvements are made, and sometimes you just don't get that ingredient, so you buy a different one, and yeah. So this is now a roasted red pepper soup. I do not use the chèvre cheese that it calls for, because I don't know if I like that kind of cheese, and it sometimes can be kind of pricey to get specialty cheeses, so I just use like a Boursin type cheese, and that works fine. Tastes good. Oh, yeah, I thought that onion might have been a bad one. Not sure about this one either. Might need to grab another onion. Oh, well, that might be fine. Yeah. So this recipe came from a magazine I bought forever ago that is actually in French, so I need to kind of translate as I go along, which is probably another reason for some of the changes, because, you know, translation errors. Oh, I need to get my pan going. Let's get that going. And I'm trying something a little different. This is the schmaltz that I saved when I did the chicken. I'll link it, but I roasted up some chicken, and so I saved the schmaltz. I hope this is schmaltz. I have no idea what it is, but it was the chicken fat. So I saved that. I'm going to actually roast the onion up in it and see how it does. I have my really big pan. I should have taken out my really big wooden spoon. This spoon is not going to work well. Okay, spoon holder. That'll work a little bit better. Okay. So the onion needs to be diced. It does not matter how big or small the dice is, because a lot of this is going to be pureed. So it doesn't matter. I think I am doubling, it's like 2.5 times the recipe, I think, or slightly more than that. This is a combination of pantry clean out and freezer clean out, and I'm not feeling good, so I would like to have a soup for lunch. So, get that going. My fat is almost melted. And get this in the pot. I don't think you can see in the pot. There we go. Well, it smells like chicken. I think I just got onion on the floor. Okay, so this originally calls for 2 chopped up red peppers, but over the years I have been slowly reducing that and adding in roasted red pepper, and now I have like a whole bunch of roasted red pepper that I've been thawing. That's been sitting in the freezer for way too long, because I've been planning on making this soup for a while now, and I haven't gotten to it. So today we are getting to it, and I'm just going to make a mega huge batch to use up some chicken stock I have in the fridge from a different project, and to use up all of this. And I have some, it doesn't call for coconut milk, but I'm going to put in some coconut milk instead of cream, and we'll see how that goes, because that needs to get used up as well. Depending on how much it calls for, I might put in a little half and half as well, but we'll see. I don't have any cream. Okay, well, I'm going to get these cooked up. They don't need to be, I think it's just a saute. So it's just a light saute. We need to make them soft, but not brown or golden. It does say to season with salt and pepper. I don't know why you put pepper in at this point, but put a little pepper in. Definitely salt it so you can draw out some of that moisture. I might actually stick in another onion. I've got a ton of them in my fridge that need to get used up. Oh, there's another one that went bad. Huh. That's a good thing I'm going through onions. I'll have to caramelize up some onions later, as I mentioned earlier, to really clear out some of those onions. I don't want them going any more bad than they already are. Okay. Well, I can really smell the chicken fat. It's interesting. I've never cooked with that before. I would never have thought to cook with it, actually. I hadn't heard someone else mentioning schmaltz and some of the uses. Now, it kind of reminds me of bacon fat in a way that it's like, I notice when I put oil in a pot, the oil never really goes away. But I feel like when I use bacon fat, and right now when I'm using the schmaltz, it's almost like it gets absorbed by the vegetables. So I feel like I need a little more in my pan. There we go. I don't know if I can get you in the pot a little bit more, see what I'm doing. There we go. All the chopping is done, so at this point it's just throwing everything in here and getting it cooked. I will write down the recipe below as it is written in the book or the magazine, and you can decide what changes you want to make, or if you just want to follow along with my changes. If I can find an actual direct link to the recipe, I will put that in, but I don't know. I don't even know when it was printed. 2004. Okay, well, I might not be able to find it. Let's say to cook for 5 to 10 minutes. Onions always take a little longer than that, so just take as long as it takes. See, it's like the pan is dry again. Okay, it calls for 2 cloves of garlic. Since I'm doubling it, I'm going to add a bit extra. That. And I'm going to give a little more salt again. Okay, so we'll get some stock here, chicken stock. Because you can use vegetable stock as well, so whatever you have, whatever you like. I'm going to deglaze the bottom with that, and I'm going to get the rest in. Now my peppers are, since they've been roasted, they're already cooked. I don't have to worry about cooking them with the onions, but if I was using just regular red peppers, I would have to put it in with the onion. Last but not least, there we go. So it's a little more than 2.5 quarts. That last one was a pint and a half, but it wasn't quite full, so. I'm going to get these in so they can start or finish thawing. There is a little oil in these as well because I roasted them with oil. If anyone knows a good resource for canning roasted peppers, I'd love to know. Wasn't able to find a good one. Yes, I have a lot of roasted red peppers. We went to a farmer near us. It was about an hour or so away, and it was a U-pick, and so we picked a 5-gallon bucket of peppers, and we only paid like $7. So I had a lot of peppers. A lot of peppers. So I was able to do a lot of things with them that I don't normally get to do, which was kind of fun, because I can't seem to grow peppers just yet. We're working on it. I don't know what it is about my garden, but they just don't seem to grow. Okay, so this is probably going to have to simmer for a little while. My onions must have had a bad skin on the outside. So it's going to have to simmer for a little bit because I need this to thaw before I can blitz it. In the meantime, I'm going to clean up. Okay, the red peppers have had plenty of time to thaw and cook down a little bit more. I mean, they were pretty soft to begin with, but... So I'm going to get this blitzed up. I will mute this part because it's fun to watch it come together. It's annoying to listen to this. Okay, so it does call for chèvre, and I don't have any because I don't buy specialty cheeses. I did buy this Boursin cooking cream. I normally use the non-cooking cream one. I just use the Boursin soft cheese in place of that. So I was kind of hoping that I might be able to use this, which I got for a discount. That's the only reason why I bought it. Use this in place of the chèvre, which it does say you can use like a regular cheese. It doesn't have to be a goat cheese. But I'm hoping I can use this in place of the cheese and the cream. But if it needs more cream, I do have that coconut milk. Or if it only needs a little bit, I will just put in a little touch of half and half. So I'm going to put these in. These have been in the freezer for a while. I bought these a long time ago, planning on making this soup, and then I didn't get to making the soup right away, so they seem like they held up okay in the freezer. Get those in, get them melting. That one doesn't want to come out. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to let these melt away and see how they do. And then if I feel it needs more creaminess, I will add something at that point. I will also test for salt and pepper. So I want to make sure that those are on point as well. It really doesn't call for anything else. It does call for pesto, homemade pesto or house pesto. I don't know what that is, but I don't normally put pesto in. This has the herbs in it, and even though it does call for cheese with herbs, I don't put pesto in. I don't normally have it in the house, so it's just another specialty ingredient that I would have to buy, so I skip it. Although I'm hoping this year that if I get enough pesto, I'm hoping this year if I get enough basil from the garden that I can, you know, make my own pesto. So this just needs to simmer away so this can melt. It might need a little more creaminess, but we'll see. This is a big batch. I know my pot seems ridiculously oversized, but my next size down from this is actually kind of small. So it would have maxed out my smaller pot, and it is just barely halfway on this big pot. It's a 14 quart, and I'm at under 5. I'm like under 5 quarts in here, so no, I think that's a 6. I'm under 6 quarts. Okay, so I'm just gonna let this simmer away, thaw. This has had a chance to simmer for a little while. All of the cheese is melted. It is now all stirred in. It needs more something, cream. I'm going to put in the coconut milk because I think it'll be fine. And I will give it a taste and see from there. I'm pretty sure it's going to need salt and pepper as well. So let's get this open and chuck it in. This is another thing that has been sitting in the back of my pantry for like ever. So, time to use it up. Okay, well color-wise it certainly looks a little bit better. So, give it a taste, see where we're at. Might need more cream. Well, it definitely needs salt and pepper. So, first order of business, let's get that sorted out. I know it looked like a lot of salt, but it's a big pot. Add pepper. Might do a combination of black and white pepper. I don't think it really matters. I have black pepper, but I have white pepper, and it would be nice to get some of it used up. I don't use it very often. There we go. Yeah, add in some onion and garlic as well. Just felt like it was missing something. So I don't have cream. It does call for 15%. I'm just going to put in some half and half, because this we almost always have in the house. And go from there. And if you don't want to mess up a million spoons, use your stirring spoon to put it on your other spoon. That's better. It still needs something. there is a bit of a bitterness to the pepper. I think it might be from the seeds. I could not get all of the seeds out, which is a bit unfortunate, so might need to put in a touch of sugar to offset the bitterness. Let me see if I can get the salt dialed in at least. Okay, let's go again. Better. I think this is going to be a back and forth for a little while. Yeah, that's definitely better on the salt. Now let me get a little touch of sugar in there to offset the bitter. Go about 2 tablespoons. Because it is a big pot. Now when I write the recipe down below, I will just write down a single recipe. I doubled it. Actually, I probably doubled it in half. Oh yeah, that's definitely better. Still think it needs more salt. But I will make sure just to put down a single recipe, and then you can double as you desire. Okay, I'm going to let this go a little bit longer. I'm going to put in a little bit more half and half. And probably a bit more salt, and call that done. Everything else tasted pretty good. I will show you the caramelized onions next. It'll make a nice little topper for the soup. And that will be a day. I think I'm just going to spend the rest of the day relaxing, trying to get over this, whatever the sniffly nose thing is that's driving me nuts, and try to get better. Okay, I am moving on to the caramelized onion. As you can see, I've got 4 onions here that I'm going to be chopping up, and in my pan I have some oil, and you can use butter, but I had some ghee I needed to use up, so I just tossed in some ghee. Ghee is just, it's a type of clarified butter, so I just tossed that in. Alright. For the onions, I'm doing mine in long strips. You can also do it in like small squares if you want to just do like a large dice. It's kind of how you're going to use it, but I do mine as the strips. And for the strips, it's important to do the pole-to-pole cutting, so root to top this way, not this way. You don't want rounds, the half rounds, you want the pole to tip this way. I like to cut off, I know you can't really see this very well, I cut off a chunk, and then I cut it this way so I can get more uniform pieces. Get a little skin there. Going for about a 1/4 inch thickness. You can go a little bit more, a little bit less, kind of depends. Keep an eye out for some of these big chunks that sometimes get missed in the interior. That's not too bad. Then again, I'll try to show you. I take off a... Where are you? Okay, here you go. So I like to take off a chunk on the end here, and then when I cut it this way, I get more uniform pieces. So if you just try to cut this way, you get like kind of a long piece. And then when you get near the other end, you just turn it the other way, and that gets rid of some of the small pieces. So you have those large chunks that sometimes happen. See how this one's a kind of a large chunk? So I will just cut that up. Okay. So I want to get these in as I'm going, because otherwise my cutting board will fill up and the pan will get really full. This way they can start cooking down, and then the pan won't be quite so full. So I'm going to just bust through the rest of these real quick and get on to the cooking part. Okay, now the pan looks really full, but you got to bear with it. These will cook down to next to nothing. It's incredible how they go from way too much to not quite enough. So I've got these on just above a medium heat, but once they get going, I will have to turn them down because I don't want them burning. This is a slow process, slow and steady. I do want to make sure I get them all kind of coated in the oil ghee mixture. Okay, now that I get everything coated, I do want to add a little bit of salt. Now I only want to add a little bit here, just enough to start drying out some of the water, but not too much because this will cook down. You don't want to concentrate that salt too much and then have a salty mess at the end. So a little goes a long way at the beginning, and then you can re-salt at the end to get it to the right salt level. Oh, this is just gonna go. This could take upwards of an hour, so just be prepared to go in for the long haul if you're going to do this on your stove. There are methods for doing it in the oven and a slow cooker and like all kinds of things. I've not tried those methods, so you do the one that works for you. That's what cooking is all about, finding a method that works, that you like, and using that. So I'm just going to be keeping an eye on this for the next while. And these keep well in the fridge, so you can make a whole big batch and then just keep them in the fridge for like a few days, a week, whatever. I think they freeze well too. I think I've frozen them in the past. There is a little bit of loss of texture, but the flavor more than makes up for it. Okay, it has been about 20 minutes. I just wanted to show you what it looks like. Now, as it's sort of sauteing or caramelizing or whatever we want to call it, you can hear it sounds different at each stage, and so every time the pan kind of sounds like it's getting a little dry, I turn it down, because at that point it's going to start picking up too much color, so we don't want it burning. If you burn a couple, it's not too bad, but if you burn more than a couple, it starts affecting the flavor of the whole batch. So the onions do have kind of a sticky feel to them right now as well. They're kind of sticking to each other. There's not much liquid in here, but each time it kind of starts sounding dry, I turn it down just to prevent the scorching. I am no expert at this, so I'm just showing you how I do it. But this is sort of 20 minutes in, so now you know it's kind of got that slightly golden but translucent color right now. So we'll just keep an eye on it. Okay, 40 minutes. So it looks like I've noticed that the sound just started changing again, so I'm going to turn this down a little bit more. So I'm just below medium, but when I turn this down again, I'll probably be at like medium low, you know, like that halfway point. Okay, not quite. But I will let this continue to go. I will continue watching it and stirring it, but yeah, this is 40 minutes. You can definitely see they're a lot softer. They still have a stickiness to them, but that seems like that's slightly going away now. We'll see. And the pan is still has some oil residue in it, so it's okay. I don't need to add any more. It has been 50 minutes, so 10 minutes since the last time you saw it, and it is definitely reducing down and getting there. So it's just a slow process. You gotta just keep stirring it, watching it, turning the temperature down. I will see you back when anything changes. It has been about an hour and 10 minutes. As you can see, it's still going. I think it's darkening up. It's so hard to tell when you're just standing over it stirring. Stirring about every 5 to 7 minutes or so, give or take. Sometimes it goes a little longer, sometimes a little sooner. So it still needs more time. You could stop it here if this is the color you like, but I'm going to go further. This is where I normally stop sometimes, because I always start getting scared. You hit a certain point and you just start, oh, is it going to get overdone? Is it going to get overdone? But I always undercook them, so I'm going to go a little further. May look different on screen. I will try to check that when I am in processing. So I'll make a note if it seems like it's darker or lighter, but this is like a light brown. It's hard to describe. So I'll make a note of that. Okay, it has been about an hour and 20 minutes. You can see it's starting to stick to the bottom of the pan, starting to pick up a lot more color. You can see that some have not picked up as much color, but some have picked up more color. So it's just a matter of staying on top, stirring it, trying to get things flipped over and in contact with the pan. You can see the pan is still wet. It hasn't dried out, so we've got a good level of moisture going on still. Again, you could stop here. I'm going to take it a little further. I'm going to try to get it like that deep, rich color that it's supposed to be, because I feel like I always stop short. So we're going to keep going. We're experimenting. I'm going to see how long it's supposed to take for me, because I always cut it short after like 45 minutes, because I get bored after a while. So I'm doing other things at the same time. It's keeping me kind of invested in this process. Okay, we are at about an hour and 20 minutes, and as you can see, it is a rich golden brown now. I'm starting to get a little nervous. I don't want to burn it or scorch it, so I am going to call it here. I'm going to take this off the heat and let it cool, and then I will get it in a container in the fridge. I like to enjoy this on salads, but I have also enjoyed this on burgers or just eaten it on the side with other things. So there's lots of uses for caramelized onion, but this is where I'm going to stop. It is a slow process. You can't hurry it up. If you turn up the temperature, you got to stir it more constantly and be really aware of what's going on. So just slow, take your time, enjoy the process, listen to how it sounds. A lot of things with cooking are, how does it feel? How does it sound? How does it taste? How does it look? So try to engage your senses and see, look, feel, smell, taste, how things are progressing, and then you will get a feel for it, and each time you do it, it'll be easier and easier because you'll be, oh yeah, I remember it was supposed to be like this, or it's supposed to feel like that. So, turning it off, letting it cool, and I'm going to enjoy this later. And I hope you try this and enjoy it too. The roasted red pepper soup with a garnish of caramelized onions and a side of accidentally crispy pita bread. This turned out really nice. It did need a little more salt, but that was it. This is a great warm soup for a nice cold day or when you're not feeling very good. I hope you give this a try. If you do, please let me know below how you thought it turned out, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.